welcome to the Middle Earth Hobby Channel. My name's Luke. So I thought I would be wrapping up this project just around Christmas Day. It's now Christmas Eve, but I've had such a busy month, and in the last couple of days I tested positive for COVID, which is crap, and it kind of throws a spanner in lots of things, and obviously I haven't been able to move around or get stuff or do anything like that. So it's been tricky, but now I'm isolating and I have lots of time to finish off the project. So I mean, there's that upside, and I'm not too sick, so that's good too. But anyway, I'm going to be moving on to part 4 of the board, basing the board. And if you're watching this during the COVID pandemic, you probably have some free time, most likely, to do some stuff as well. So I mean, it's maybe a decent time to be hobbying. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do in this part of the video is I'm going to slather this side of the board in PVA, and I'm going to put some sand on it, and it's going to give it some texture. And I'm going to show you, it doesn't look like much, but I'll be texturing it with some sand, painting the sand, dry brushing the sand, and then really what's going to happen is there's going to be some modular runes going on top, and some trees to make it look like Fangorn. So I'm going to come back when I have it all sanded, or PVA'd first. Yeah, I'll come back when it's all PVA'd. Okay, so here we are. You probably can't tell, but this is now very sticky, and I used a very kind of light coat of PVA because I didn't want the terrain to be too thick. Sometimes it gets very sticky and it doesn't dry very quick if it's very, very thick, the PVA layer. Although that could be a texture that you might prefer as well. So if you do like it very thick, I wouldn't say. I'd say that you could do it that way if you wanted to. Okay, so basically what I do now is I'm just going to sprinkle some sand on, and it's fairly easy. So the most satisfying part of this is going to be after it dries. Usually it takes, depending on how thick your PVA layer is, could take 12 hours. I'd say this will be done perhaps a little earlier than that, kind of maybe 6 hours or so. But the most satisfying part is after it dries, vacuuming it all up. So when it dries, there's obviously going to be a lot of material that hasn't stuck to the board, and it would be kind of disastrous if we painted on top of that, because it just gets stuck in your brushes and it doesn't get painted, and it turns into a kind of a paste. So what you do is you vacuum up whatever's left, and it works pretty well. And at this point you could put in kind of different sized maybe pebbles and stuff if you really wanted to, because we're going to be basing over all this stuff. We're going to be doing a kind of prime coat over it, so you could put slightly bigger rocks if you wanted to, maybe. Although I would recommend doing stuff like that on a modular build on a slightly different piece of polystyrene, so that you could change the layout as you see fit. But if you wanted to do different thicknesses of sand, it might certainly give you a more detailed level of textures. So yeah, you could play around with this this step for sure. But for my purposes, I'm really focused on the modular tree, so I don't need something too fancy. I just need something that is very kind of flat. It just looks like a kind of a decent plane. Maybe we can move some of that around a little bit. So some of that's going to be very thick, but give it some texture. Now, I don't want to make too much of a mess, so the edges are always kind of tricky. Yeah. And there's certainly definitely better ways to do this, I'm sure. But this way I will get slightly different, like some of this will be thicker and some of it will just be very grainy. And it'll look, I'm hoping it'll look quite natural. It'll look kind of like rock formations a little bit. And depending on how I dry brush it, it can come out in a couple of different ways. Great, so I'm going to come back when this is dry, probably sometime in the evening or maybe even tomorrow, and we'll see how it is. Okay, so I'm back to vacuum the board. You can see if it's dried. I'm pretty sure it has. So whack up the power on this bad boy a little bit. Actually, I might. Hold on. Because it's a large kind of surface on this skin. You can see actually most of it's kind of stuck down like quite a bit. Quite strange. There will be kind of some vacuum made patterns, I guess. Let's go back to this. It's too general. So some of it's still a little bit wet, particularly in the very clumpy places.